Hello YouTube, Ninja Midget here with a full assembly of the Ruger 2245 target pistol. And the first thing we're going to want to do on this, let me go ahead and grab my focus here so I can get a little bit closer to the camera. There's your bolt. The first thing you're going to want to do is we're going to want to put in our extractor. So for that, you're going to need the extractor pin, extractor spring, and that's going to go in just like this with this angle up like that. So that's going to go on just like that. And what you're going to do is you're going to grab your extractor and you're going to use your extractor, putting some downward pressure on this to push this back until it just snaps into place. Really, really easy. Whole lot easier than getting the darn thing out. Okay, from there you're going to grab your firing pin spring, and it goes in just like this with this angled going down. You're going to drop it right in the front of your bolt in this channel here. From there you're going to grab your firing pin. It goes in like this, and you're going to want to slide it in from the back so that it will capture that spring, and then you should be able to test it and see, okay, yeah, that's got spring pressure on it. Now if you push that pin, the firing pin, down and forward, what you're going to be able to do is slide this pin right in. It'll line that hole up nearly perfectly. You may have to wiggle it around a bit, but it goes in real easy after that. Okay, now focus out a little bit here, because this part's really easy. What you're going to do with this part is this piece that has these little prongs, you're going to rest it on the rail here, and then you're just going to push back on that spring until that piece slides in. And that is your complete bolt assembly. So that's the first part. On to the next. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and put in our magazine release, as well as the spring that holds it in place. And you start off, let me change my focus a bit here. Start off by putting this little detent in right here. I should have more lights on. There, that's a little better. Okay, so you get your detent in right like this. You're going to go ahead and put it in the frame. There's only one way it can go in on this model, so you're going to want to just get it right in like this. Takes a little wiggling around. But there it is, it's in. Now this spring is going to go in right like, turn it around the right way here. It's going to go in right like this. That's how this spring fits in. And this little angled piece right here, this goes right in this hole, but from the other side. So what you're going to do, you're going to flip the gun over, and you're going to put this little bent part in. You can see where there's a little slot where you can slide it down. You can feel it go in there pretty easy. From there you just want to let it go, and it'll fall forward into this little groove here. It has a tendency to want to pop out of that little hole, so sometimes you need to just take it out and restart. But after a couple tries, you get it to fall in the right spot. It's just a little tricky. As this pin gets hooked on my towel here. Okay. And there we go. Take a little screwdriver or something, push it in, and there you go. Now your magazine release isn't going anywhere. It's not going to come out of there. And you can see that it's in correctly because the tip of that spring is right here. And also this spring provides spring tension for your trigger pin. If you look right in through here, you can see that pin in there. That's what provides your spring tension for your trigger pin. Hold your trigger pin in for you. So that's the first step on this. Okay, next we're going to put in our sear, and for that you need your sear and your sear spring and your sear pin. Now, the way this goes in is you're going to put the spring in first, and there's a little end on the spring. The spring goes in just like this, with that little hump going down. That is going to slide into this area right here. You see that little slot down there? Little slot right there. That slot is where that little end of the spring goes in. And then there's a little ridge on this side, and that's where the long part of the spring is going to rest when it's in correctly. So, getting in, it may fall out on you a couple times, but it's really not that difficult. You just got to kind of drop it down in the right place, at the right angle, and it'll slide right in that little slot. It's a little tricky to get it in there, but usually after a couple tries, you'll get it in there. Just slide it right down in place. And there it is. See, yeah, you can see that down in there. Let me see if I can get some light in there for you. Yeah. So what you're going to want to do now is you're going to push on the thick part of the spring. You want to push towards the front of the gun, because it's not going to line up with that hole without you pushing on it a little bit. So you're going to line that hole up while you're holding it on the inside. Then you get your pin in. You can go ahead and release that, and there's your spring captive. Now your sear is going to go in just like this, and it's very important that the short pin on that spring is going to be lying on this side of the sear. It's going to be lying right there on that side of the sear. So it's going to be pushing it back in this direction. That's important. So let me grab my pliers. That's usually the easiest way to get this in. Grab it the way it's going to be going into the gun. And then you're going to want to try to fit it in over that spring. And it'll want to jump out on you. So it's just a matter of getting it back in there. Maybe I'll adjust the focus on this a little bit since I'm not right up near the camera. There we go. So get your spring in. There it is. Get your pin. Get that started. Okay. Now grab your sear. Make sure it's in the right orientation. And that's just going to go right down in here. And it's just a matter of getting it at the right angle and getting it to slide in there. There's not a lot of room, so you just got to keep trying. Keep pushing that pin in. Just got to keep trying. Angle it in there. Once you get it in, it just wants to keep coming loose on me. You angle it. Get it in there, get it started. There it is. And now I want to make sure that yes, that pin is on this side. You can see that little dot down there. That's the end of that spring. So that's in the right orientation now. Also, the other side of this spring. Let me focus in a little bit here. Probably can't really see it too well, but the straight side of that spring that's right here You can see it to the left of that hole. That also provides a bit of spring tension on your hammer pin. Okay, so there's your sear in. Okay, next step on the frame is you want to put your trigger group together. Now, one note on this: there are 2 pins that'll fit in the same hole on this gun, but there are differences in these pins, and they are specific to where they go. So let me see if I can get a good profile of these. Yes. Now, the pin that's got the deeper indentation, this is your trigger pin, because that lines up perfectly with that spring, our magazine detention spring that that holds our magazine in place. It's this little piece down here, that little angled part that's right by the hole where this goes in at. And you can see it if you look down inside. And if you hold the pin up to it, it's perfect. It lines up perfectly. So that's how you know that this is where this goes in the gun. Okay, now for this, what you want to do, first thing you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and put your trigger together. You want to put your spring in, put your detent on the spring, and then your trigger bar / disconnector goes in like this, pushes down on the spring, and that's together. Now what we need to do is, this is the bolt stop for when the gun is empty, or when you want to hold the bolt open. And you need to take this little detent. It's going to go right inside here, just like this. Okay, and the first thing you're going to do is you're going to put this down inside here, like if I had it in the right orientation it would help. You want to make sure that this little lip is going down. That allows you to get it in place so that you can slide this little tongue right here under that groove, and then it slides right up into place like this. Okay, from there get your pin started, and you want to make sure that the little groove is at the end that's going to end up being over here when you're starting this. So get that started. Oops. There we go. Get that started. Get it going through here the way it should. There we go. Then you're going to want to go ahead and grab your trigger. You're going to drop it down in place just like this until you can feel the pin going through. And that pin will want to stop on that spring, so you might need to give it a light tap. Fiddle around with it a little bit. Sometimes it gives you a little bit of a hard time. So if you reach down in there with something, you can get it to go in there. And you'll hear it click into place. And then you can swing your sear forward. There you go. And that's it. Alright. On to the next step. Okay, so for this last part, what we're going to need is our safety selector, our bushing for our hammer, and our hammer pin. And now what you want to do first, let me focus this a little bit so I can get a little bit of a better view on this. There we go. That's good. Now you're going to want to take your safety. Make sure you got your little detent in here, and you're going to want to put it in like this. And what you're going to want to do is you want to move your sear forward with your finger so that this, your safety selector, will come down in place and capture that. And that is sometimes easier said than done. There it is. Okay. Now, you see your sear is captured by the safety. It's on its on position. And it's not moving back. You need it in that position in order to get your hammer in. Now what you want to do is you want to put this pin in, and this little striped edge goes to the left side of the gun, and you want to apply some pressure and move your pin around a little bit, and you want to get that so that this is in, and now that's ready for your hammer to go in there. So you want to take your hammer, put your bushing in. It goes on the right side of the hammer. You got your bushing in. That's going to go straight down into your trigger bar / disconnector, and you're going to move that down into position so that you can get your pin through. Requires a little bit of fiddling, and then there it goes. And now that is functioning, and the way you can tell that this is functioning properly is because put a little pressure on the back of the hammer and pull the trigger. That releases your sear. Hammer moves forward. Now release the trigger and you'll hear a click as this pulls back, as the sear re-engages, and then we're ready for trigger pull again. So that's how you know that this is functioning properly. Okay, now what we want to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to put on our receiver. I'm going to push it toward the back of the gun so it locks in. Next, we're going to go ahead and we're going to get our bolt. We're going to put that in. There we go. Got that. Then we're going to go ahead and take this, and what you want to do, you see up in there, this piece right here, that's the hammer in its back position. Pull the trigger, that moves forward. You want that hammer forward before you go ahead and you do this next part of the assembly. Okay, so now you're going to put this in just like this. Oops. Get it in the right way. Goes in like this, and you're going to slide it straight up into place until it clicks in. And there we go. Clicks into place. Now let's see. This is what is really, it happens a lot. It's very easy to get this to happen. What's happening here is if you bump this, it'll go forward. No hammer drop. Now what's happened here is your hammer strut did not go in the detent where your spring is located. And this happens when you have this happen on the gun. This becomes locked in for some reason, and if you just pull on it enough and kind of jostle it around, move it around, it'll eventually unstick itself. Ah, that's what it is. Okay, it looks like pulling the hammer, or pulling the trigger back is what actually released this. So it took a while of jostling to get this to release, but what you want to do is after you stick this up in here and you get that to click in place, see if I can get a shot down inside here with the strut. That's not it. can't really see it. What you want to do is you'll be able to see the strut, and it will lay on either side of this mechanism right here, this arm. It'll be laying on there. Can't really see it in there. If it's not in the center when you close this, what'll happen is it's not going to fall into this detent right here. This is the detent that provides the spring pressure for your hammer. So this is absolutely necessary. So if you make sure that that is in a centered position, slowly move this up into place and then close it, we should have decent functionality, perfect functionality in fact. So there it is. Things to watch for. That little hammer strut does not want to go in there all the time, so it can be a little finicky, and if you get it locked on you and you can't reopen this, wiggling it around and fiddling with the trigger seems to help this pop out if you've got this stuck in here, and it won't come out on you. So there we go. That's your Ruger 2245 target pistol completely assembled. Alright, thanks for watching.